When designing assessments, whether paper-based or online, there are 12 assessment principles that need to be considered. In this video, I will be explaining each principle and how it can be adhered to when designing e-assessments. Before we look at each assessment principle in detail, it is important to note that these assessment principles fall under 3 categories. 1. Methods of assessment. 2. Evidence of assessment. And 3. Process of assessment. Methods of assessment should be appropriate, fair, manageable, and integrated. Evidence of assessment should be valid, current, authentic, and sufficient. And processes of assessment should be systematic, transparent, and consistent. When a method of assessment is appropriate, it means it is suited to the performance being assessed. This principle determines if the assessment tool is suitable for the type of topic used as a learning target. A fair method of assessment should not present any barriers to learners' achievements. It must be free of bias and sensitive to contextual factors such as gender, race, cultural background, abilities, and so on. Instructions for the assessment must be communicated clearly, accurately, meaningfully, and timelessly. This assessment principle refers to the way learners are treated before, during, and after the method is applied by you, the assessor. Integrated assessment is a process that combines and blends the learning outcomes from multiple modules into a series of streamlined, realistic, case-oriented activities. Teachers should select an assessment strategy or strategies which are most relevant to their students' learning outcome. A manageable method of assessment means that the scheduling of assignments and the amount of assessed work required should provide a reliable and valid profile of achievement without overloading staff or students. Notional hours can be used to guide activity and assessment duration. There are 4 principles that fall under evidence of assessment: validity, current, authenticity, and sufficiency. An assessment is regarded as valid if the learning objectives, content, and teaching methods are well aligned. The assessment method must be appropriate for the objectives specified, and a range of assessment methods should be used as evidence. Current evidence of assessment must be up to date and suitable to support a competency claim. There is no point providing evidence of being able to complete a task that is outdated and reflects practices from 10 years ago. An authentic evidence of assessment means that the evidence is attributable to the candidate being assessed. The assessment is realistic and relevant and involves learner performance in real-world situations or simulations. Sufficient assessment would mean that the types of questions asked and the spread of content covers aspects of the work done during a particular period of time. There must be enough evidence for the assessor to infer that the learner is either competent or not yet competent. They do this by referring to the amount of evidence students have generated to allow them to make sound judgments and evaluations of student performances and achievements. There are 3 assessment principles that show the process of evidence: systematic, transparent, and consistent. The systematic principle is illustrated by the process being fair, effective, manageable, and repeatable. A transparent process of evidence is illustrated by clear, accurate, consistent, and timely information on assessment tasks and procedures to students, staff, and other external assessors or examiners. A consistent process of evidence can be seen by the assessment being reliable and requires clear and consistent processes for the setting, marking, grading, and moderation of assessments. I hope you now have a clear understanding of the assessment principles and will implement them when sorting your own assessments.